Saying a few words about him and maybe his journey in Blocksense and what he is into.
Hey guys, my name is Peter. I am the CTO of the Blocksense team. We started the project, I guess, at the end of last year, but most of the team members joined during the start of this year and the spring especially. So I'm very interested to share with you all what we've been working on and to share our progress.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Peter. I would like to give the word to our CEO also, Zachary.
Hey guys, my name is Zachary. I am the CEO of Blocksense, also kind of the chief architect of the project. Before starting Blocksense, I used to be the lead developer of one of the Ethereum clients, the Nimbus client. And prior to this, I was kind of a very active contributor for many years to a programming language called NIM.
All right. So, let me see where would this. I'd like to give the word to also Dimo that is joining us online. So maybe he can
Hi guys.
present himself. Hi Dimo.
My name is Dimo and I am the lead ZK developer of the project. Prior to that, I worked on I was the lead ZK engineer of the Dendrit project, which is also a project where a lot of the Blocksense team members have worked on.
Yeah. Thank you, Dimo. Just get our we're getting our technician that is walking around and trying to make the setup even better. I hope you guys enjoyed. So after the short presentation of the team, and of course, you guys gonna learn a lot more about those people in the future, but it's good to get to know the feeling of who are the founding fathers, as I wrote in my post of Blocksense. There's one more person that I wanted to hear, but I'm not sure whether he's not. Yeah, actually, he is with us also. Again, I would like him to share also a little bit info about him and his journey into Blocksense. Hey, George.
Oh, hello. Yes, hi guys. Am I'm the I guess like COO, and I do a lot of work on like the BD and the marketing side. You've seen me around in the Discord, on Twitter, and yeah, that's rough. That's like very brief about me. I mean, I started this project last year, towards I think around this time actually, or maybe like September, and lots of things happened. But we're just getting started. So we'll like the guys will tell you about what we're doing on the tech side, which has been a little bit more invisible, and we'll also maybe share some when you've been seeing kind of what we've been pushing on the marketing side, and we'll maybe share like some of the backroom like dealings that we've had on the BD side. Yeah. Thanks everyone for being here. Actually, I'm not sure how many of you are here, but
All right. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, George. And actually, I will take the possibility to present myself as well, because many know me from the chat, and yeah, to the face on this name, it's nice. So I'm the community lead of Blocksense, and I'm very happy to communicate with most of you, all of you that are active in the community. We have great contributors, and I'm happy to see this also going further. We are preparing some awesome campaigns and quests coming soon to the community, so stay tuned for this. And I would like to step with the second part, I mean, not part, but second point of this call today, that we get to wrap up a little bit what we have been doing already and what is the progress till now, and so we can share some things that are cooking but are still not maybe live, and maybe what things we have achieved so far, and what's the current development status. Maybe I can ask Peter about it.
Sure. Our focus so far has been on building our smart contracts. Specifically, you guys soon we'll be able to share with you our smart contracts for EVM-based networks, specifically our historical data feed store contracts. So our key points, our key focus so far has been on making sure that our new users on new networks are able to have a solution for oracles, and one of the things that also we completed so far, in addition to the Solidity site, is our documentation site, which will also be going live soon. And the other key components of our tech stack is the sequencer and the report on nodes. So we have good progress on those so far, and we have one upcoming testnet deployment that will start soon.
Well, I mean, the key thing about the kind of Blocksense smart contract is that we are introducing a new architecture in the Oracle space. Currently, the Oracle space is dominated by a model where each data feed is a separate smart contract and each data update is a separate transaction. And one of the key innovations in Blocksense is that we use a single smart contract holding all of our data feeds, and then we can publish thousands of updates with a single transaction. In the future, the kind of data will be verified with a zero-knowledge circuit, ensuring that all the data produced by the protocol is gone through the kind of consensus process of the network, which ensures that the data is verified, that there's no possibility for collusion or bribery. But even in this very first version, we will have all the kind of interfaces in place. The applications that are willing to integrate Blocksense will have the guarantee that if they adopt our smart contracts now, we'll go through all the phases of the evolution of the protocol without ever breaking kind of backwards compatibility. So that's the goal for our first release.
Yeah, this definitely something great to have in mind for everyone that was ever wondering why Blocksense is so special and what we are aiming to deliver. And with this in mind, I would like to move on to the next step, and this is mainly the roadmap overview and what is upcoming now. And let's look at our short-term goals for the next 3 to 6 months. Zachary, what you can share with?
Right. So I already alluded to this a little bit, but we want to get our products in the kind of hands of the users as soon as possible. And our long-term goal is to implement zero-knowledge circuits covering the so-called sharing point voting consensus mechanism, which works a little bit like a game. I tend to kind of provide this following short description. Imagine a game with, say, 10,000 participants, and kind of the rules of the game are such that a small subset of these participants are selected and they're asked an arbitrary question. So this could be, say, 100 participants, and the question could be something like, what's the current temperature in New York, for example? And the rules of the game are that you don't get to see the answers of the other participants, but if you provide an answer that agrees with the majority of other answers, you get a reward. If your answer disagrees with the majority, you get a small penalty. So it's not immediately obvious, but the best strategy in this game is to always tell the truth. Because if everybody tells the truth, everybody wins. And if you try to lie, since there are so many possible ways of lying, it's very unlikely that you will end up in the majority. So basically, lying is a recipe for losing money, and the protocol incentivizes the reporting of truthful data. The concern here is that because this is a decentralized protocol, you have to worry about collusion or kind of bribery, somebody trying to steer the protocol in one or another direction. And thanks to our zero-knowledge architecture, we're introducing several kind of technical mitigations to these kind of attacks. The first thing that we do is this committee of users who are responsible for providing a particular data point at a particular time, they're chosen in a secret fashion. Basically, when you are in one of these committees, you only know that you yourself are part of the committee. You don't know any other member who is in the same committee. And if you're an external observer, you don't know at all who the members of the committee are. So basically, if you try to collude with, if you want to collude with somebody, or if you want to try to bribe somebody, you just don't know who to target. You have to kind of offer your bribe to the whole network. But the second problem is that we make it very difficult for anybody to accept a bribe, because the only way to share how you're voted in this system is to reveal a secret key that you're holding, which controls your entire stake. And naturally, nobody would want to do that. But then think about it. Is it really rational to try to bribe somebody if they cannot prove to you how they vote in the protocol? Because they can always take your bribe. They can vote whatever way they want, and there will be, for the attacker will have no way to verify whether they have followed the orders or not. So these strong mitigations against collusion and bribery, I think kind of one of the major technical differentiators of Blocksense, what set us apart from other decentralized Oracle protocols. And ultimately, this is what is going to secure the Blocksense network in the long term. But to make kind of the protocol available in the hands of the kind of users and partnering development teams as soon as possible, we have adopted a roadmap where initially we'll have a deployment of the Blocksense network, which kind of works in the traditional proof of authority model, which is currently dominating the kind of Oracle industry. So I wouldn't reveal all the details, but basically there will be a number of reputable kind of blockchain infrastructure companies which will be acting as the initial set of operators who are kind of signing all the data published by the Blocksense network with their name. So we will be relying on their reputation to ensure the validity of the data. And kind of the next iteration in our roadmap would also enable risk takers from protocols such as EigenLayer join the network and become operators. And finally, once all this ZK machinery is fully developed and in place, we'll unlock staking the protocol for everyone.
Yeah, this is... Oh, great. I just wanted to make sure, did you just lay down the whole vision of the what we plan on, or this was the short term? That's to make sure for everyone.
Well, I mean, this is probably our roadmap for, say, the next 12 to 18 months.
All right.
Our longer-term vision kind of imagines a future where the blockchains are much better integrated with the internet itself. Like sometimes people describe our protocol as the missing SDK, smart contract SDK for accessing the internet. And we believe that this communication with the internet should be bidirectional. That, for example, it should be possible to create a blockchain application that where the user initiates some transaction on the blockchain, but the application requires the user to complete some action in the real world or the internet. And then the user submits a proof that this action has taken place. Now, this proof could be either determined by the sharing point voting mechanism, where multiple validators in our protocol attest to the fact that some action was created, but we also be building a ZK TLS implementation that would allow the user to prove interaction with traditional web pages that are more private, maybe something that you do with your own account while you are logged in a particular traditional website. and this would be all delivered with the privacy of the ZK technology. Basically, you'll be able to prove that you did some interaction without actually revealing your personal details or the details of the interaction itself.
Yeah.
So that's our very long-term vision. We want to create this much stronger connection between the blockchain and the internet. But something that I didn't talk about our short-term vision is kind of the other key differentiator of the Blocksense protocol. And it is the reason why we want to get this technology in the hands of the users as soon as possible. What I'm talking to here is the fact that with Blocksense, anybody can create new oracles. Basically, the way that oracles are created, they're programmed by our user base. So, for example, if you're a smart contract developer and you have an idea how to leverage some data from the real world, with Blocksense, you can implement an oracle script by yourself that kind of determines how this data would be obtained from kind of various sources in the internet. We can use multiple sources, we can take the average of them, or process the information in an arbitrary way. And then once you create this script, you register it in our network, and the data will start flowing on the very next day. Basically, the problem that we see right now is that the oracle providers, they act as gatekeepers that limit the possible innovation in the application space. Like, you have to wait for somebody to first publish the data on chain, and only then you can start building applications around the data that is available. While we are kind of turning this around, if you have an idea how to leverage some data from the real world, you can bring it on chain yourself, thus unlocking the maximum possible innovation.
We have this really ambitious vision and plan about also long term, but can you present a little bit how we are going through in the technical level? What is the novelty here that we implement, and why we are a project that comes in the space?
Well, as I said, kind of one of our key novelties is this new architecture that allows thousands of updates to be pushed together on chain with a single transaction, which significantly cuts the costs of publishing data on chain. So when we compare ourselves to the current state-of-the-art solution, we can measure that the gas required to publish a single data point on chain is kind of 50 times lower with the blockchain protocol, with the Blocksense protocol. And this means that you can either decide to push 50 times more data, which we think is quite appropriate, because we want to see a lot more kind of real-world data on chain. But the other thing that you can also do is you can use your existing gas budget to publish data more frequently. Because one of the key problems in the Oracle space right now is that the data is too stale. And in the end of the day, the end users of all the DeFi protocols are suffering from the fact that the price fees that the DeFi protocols are operating upon are lagging behind kind of the exchange rates on centralized exchanges and stuff like that. And this creates inefficiency in the industry, which is often exploited by the MEV players. Something that kind of we will hope to innovate in this area as well. We think we have a very compelling solution in the category of so-called Oracle extractable value. Because when we publish thousands of updates together, something that we can do is we can offer the players in the MEV industry the possibility to include transactions that go immediately before or immediately after the updates. And because the majority of the profits in the MEV industry is around kind of having the first mover advantage after a price update, this means that if we apply the same mechanisms that are currently being proposed for Ethereum itself, where kind of MEV players are bidding against each other for the right for their particular transactions to be included in the block. And the logic behind this bidding is that if your bid is too low, you're likely to be kind of outbid by another player. So naturally, this drives all the MEV players to kind of turn most of their profit into a bid. So the bit capture, say 95%. And this means that once they submit the bit to the Blocksense protocol, and for their particular transaction to be included with our updates, this means that the protocol can distribute this bit to kind of the DeFi protocols which are adopting Blocksense price feeds, and then in turn these protocols can further distribute it to the end users who are interacting with the DeFi solutions. So we believe that this would eliminate largely the current inefficiency of the decentralized DeFi protocols and would make them much more competitive with the centralized solutions, which ultimately is something that we want to see in the network, because the centralized solutions, and they require the user to give up a lot of custody over their funds, to have kind of strong trust in this institution, or could engage in censorship or other behavior that is not in the interest of the end users. And we want to see the truly decentralized infrastructure flourishing and being as competitive as possible.
Yeah, and after hearing all this, I'm sure many of the viewers and people that gonna even watch it afterwards, people from the community are excited also to know how they can contribute. And many times already on the server came this question when the GitHub repo will be open so people can contribute. This is one way, of course, of contributing to the project, and the other way is by spreading the news about Blocksense. The moment you feel that this is some special project and there's something that we can bring into the space, speaking about it, it really helps the community grow. And actually, it's not only about the number, but creating healthy environment where we can all, from the very beginning, I'll be saying this, to use this Discord community as a place to grow all together and to see many projects coming together from this communication on the Discord channel, and to build on top of the technology we're preparing, because this is the advantage that we see in the technology that we are building, that it's permissionless and it's unstoppable. Basically, you can bring all your ideas on chain. So I go back to this question again, maybe Peter can answer, or Zachary, when our dev friends will be able to contribute to the protocol.
Right. So, I mean, we are obviously big believers in open source. Like, both of us here have contributed to various open source projects in the past. And kind of, for me, one of the big advantages of open source is that it really sets a high quality bar. Like, if your work is going to be open for kind of scrutiny from everybody, you better make sure that it's really high quality, right? So from our perspective, we will publish the code of Blocksense as soon as our updated website is up and running, and the updated website will feature documentation of all our smart contracts, kind of various guides, how to get started with Blocksense, and so on and so forth. So we are seeing the code itself as very much complementary to this documentation. Like, we try to create the repository to be as well documented as possible with kind of proper README files and so on and so forth. And this has been a process going on for a while, and very soon all of this will be published.
That's great.
Definitely. So one of the other, so maybe I can share a bit more information about the overall process. So one of the first things that we'll publish is the developer documentation. So one of the things that's one of the focuses at the beginning for the documentation is guides on how smart contract developers can use the Blocksense contracts to implement Oracle data sources in their projects. So this is going to be one of our key focuses. Going further several months down the line, our next focus is going to be on the Oracle script functionality, which really sets us apart from other Oracle projects, because we believe that deploying, adding new data sources should be as simple as deploying a smart contract on Ethereum and other smart contract based blockchains. So we really are eager to see what the community can build. I can share some technical details on some of our technology choices so far. So we really believe in letting our community pick the tool chains and the languages of their choice. So we have decided to base the first iteration of our protocol on WebAssembly. One of the key features, one of the key properties that it has is that it allows our user base to pick different languages, but also ensure deterministic execution of the smart contracts, because one of the issues with alternative approaches, for example, based on containers, is that you really don't have good reproducibility and we don't have good isolation and isolation features, which when you're talking about oracles which intend to provide really reliable data is an issue. So we decided to use a technology which is deterministic and but also allow users to have a larger variety of languages that they can use to develop their solution. So this in contrast, for example, with EVM blockchains, where you really have a very limited set of choices, mainly Solidity, but there's also additional options. And being able to use, for example, Rust, we see it as one of the key differentiators, allowing our users to build much more interesting solutions on top of our protocol.
Thank you, Peter, for updating us on this. It's definitely very interesting choices that they here. I'm very happy to to realize the freedom that gives to developers to build on top. And with this said, I'm moving into the step where like what we prepare, because on technical side, although there is not much that has been communicated so far, you could hear that there is a solid progress and the plan is really like ongoing, right? So that's why also the goal of this call, where we can update you a little bit more. So you get to know when you hang around in Discord what you're expecting, and also when you get to tweet or about Blocksense, you have a clear idea where we're headed to. And that's great to be with us. But what about the marketing and the outreach, like our team? Because I'm also part of this marketing, and we realized we did not engage so much with the community because we were very early on discovered by Luis and this community of Turkish friends, which are all awesome. And we were just developing on all the work that has to be done before we even can start with things. But now we are getting ready. We had new hires, as some of you realize, on the marketing side that also help this process. We also have new BD people on the team that are helping in the process of starting negotiating with projects and see how we can cooperate and in the best possible way. And on the marketing side, what we are cooking, and it's really, really almost done. It was almost done today. It's a campaign that it's an invite campaign. So you get to see as soon as next week, sometime next week. Stay tuned about this. It's basically inviting your friends here, and this will give an opportunity for you to get rewarded in the future with some awesome things that I don't want to mention now because it's intriguing to stay this way. I wonder if we have, I just put this question now, if you have some partnerships that are ongoing that we can announce. I know that recently we have some discussions with hardware accelerators and what's in there for the people whoever missed this announcements?
Well, sure. I mean, because Blocksense will be one of the kind of forerunners in this ZK revolution, and kind of our own team has a history of kind of pushing the envelope when it comes to kind of ZK circuits. We are working with most of the companies which are trying to improve the available hardware solutions or software solutions for generating ZK proofs. Like you're probably referring to the fact that we recently become part of the kind of SISIC early access program. But kind of we have a number of other partners that we are talking to as well. I think the most exciting partnerships are with protocols that are looking to put Blocksense in production in the near future. I wouldn't disclose any details at this point, but this was one of the reasons why we adopted this accelerated roadmap, because it turns out that once you do allow kind of people to create arbitrary data feeds, there are projects that could really benefit from this. So these are projects that are looking forward to use the capabilities of our protocol.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to bring it up, because I think it's interesting for the people to hear. I see time is advancing very much, and we have already questions that were asked before the call. So if I would just go on with the questions, and then I'll check on the chat whether you guys also had some questions based on the conversation you heard or previously. If you had something that you wanted to learn about us, like what, if you did not get a clear answer or whatever. So I'll just go with the first question we received over Twitter, and it goes: how did you manage to offer Oracle service at a low price, than lower price than your competitors? Did you have to sacrifice anything?
Well, I think I already kind of did go through the most important aspect of this question here. Our infrastructure, our architecture is such that we publish a lot of data which is very tightly packed together in a single transaction, and that's where the majority of the cost savings are coming from. Personally, I don't think this comes with any disadvantages. It rather comes with more advantages, because when you publish the individual updates as separate transactions, you have to worry about things like just as inclusion. Maybe some of your transactions wouldn't have kind of compelling enough fee to be included in the blocks. Maybe they'll be included out of order, kind of things like that. While our large transactions are very juicy from the perspective of the kind of block producers, so they're likely to be included much more quickly, and they will create kind of more predictable timing and more predictable order of inclusion. The downside of the Blocksense protocol, probably the most significant downside, is that once the ZK circuits are fully developed, and we are mindful of the latency introduced by the kind of ZK proving aspect. So we're very carefully designing the protocol such that it can spread the zero-knowledge proving process as much as possible in a kind of large peer-to-peer network where most of the work is done in parallel. But in the end of the day, there are some steps that are kind of difficult to do in parallel, and we are exploring the best possible solutions to get the latency as low as possible. And that's where this kind of partnership with hardware vendors are coming from. And we believe that there's something unique about our strategy as well, that we are working on, because we have a lot of compiler expertise within the team. As I mentioned, I've been working on compilers for many years. We have this unique approach where we have developed a custom backend for the Noir compiler, one of the leading DSLs for zero-knowledge circuits. And this allows us to use our high-level Noir code, but to or write our high-level Noir code once, but potentially retarget it to different proving systems or different hardware solutions as they emerge. Because the kind of zero-knowledge landscape is still very rapidly evolving, and I wouldn't be surprised if, say, in a year from now, there is a new proving system or a new hardware solution that kind of gives significant advantage in the context of the Blocksense protocol. And so if we will be able to take advantage of it by just kind of implementing a backend for the Noir compiler, and then all of our existing code will just run out of the box. So this is pretty a unique approach, I would say. And we will soon publish more information kind of about our tech stack. I think we've developed some very exciting kind of developer tooling around this. Like, we'll be publishing a very advanced debugger for Noir programs. Just stay tuned.
Yeah, it's great. Okay, let's move on to the second question. I think this person got a really, really good answer. Something you have to say. There's nothing to hide with Blocksense. You have a sentence like this: anyone can become a data provider by staking funds and operating an automated Oracle node. Accordingly, can you tell us a little bit more about the system requirements?
Right. Well, another kind of careful consideration in the design of the protocol is that we've really tried to, because ultimately we see that Blocksense is not only a data reporting protocol, we see it as a compute network. And kind of the argument here is rather kind of complex, but I'll try to give a quick version of it. Basically, when you sell your computing resources, you have to compete with the traditional offerings, such as the tech giants, Google Cloud, Amazon AWS services, and so on. And ultimately, this kind of puts a limit to how much you can charge for your compute. And the prevailing optimistic view here is that people have a lot of idle compute power at home in their, say, own computers, and they will be willing to kind of sell this idle compute power at price points that are lower than the price points of these tech giants, under the premise that otherwise this compute power will be just wasted. If you already bought the hardware, so if it's idling, kind of you're missing the opportunity to make some money out of it.
Right.
But the problem is that you're always kind of have this hard ceiling about how much you can charge, because if you charge too much, naturally nobody would want to buy compute from you, because in the end of the day, we should expect the buyers in this market to be rational, right? But with data reporting, it's a somewhat different story, because when you report, say, a price feed for a lending protocol, the computation required to send the price point update is not very high. Like, it will take you several milliseconds. Maybe you send few kilobytes kind of over the network to obtain the data and then upload it on chain. But the value that you are creating is not the computation or itself. It's the establishment of kind of the truthfulness of this fact. That the fact that all the people who are interacting with the DeFi protocol on chain can have the guarantee that nobody can manipulate the data, that it is kind of timely published and it's guaranteed to be accurate, and kind of nobody can rug pull, get, or kind of cheat the user somehow and do any sort of manipulations of another protocol. So the premise here is that the consumers of the data on chain, they should be willing to reward this reporting much higher than the actual cost of the computation itself.
Yeah.
So this means that kind of the users will have very high return on investments when they join the Blocksense protocol as data reporters. But at some point, because this return on this yield is so high, we expect that many people would want to join. So at some point, the demand for reporting would be saturated. Like your node wouldn't have so many duties, and so it will start idling, waiting for the next data reporting duty. But from the perspective of the kind of old node operators in Blocksense, what they're really doing is they are giving us kind of their computational resources and asking us, okay, can you kind of use my compute resources to kind of earn as much money as possible, right? So in the most hassle-free way possible. So this naturally kind of gives us the same problem. How do we make use of this idle power of kind of the operators in the Blocksense network to earn them some additional profits besides the data reporting? And so we open the Blocksense network for other compute workloads, such as kind of 3D rendering, AI training, kind of batch processing, any kind of traditional compute workloads. And the premise here is that if 10% of your time you're doing data reporting with kind of very high profit margin, and 90% of your time you're doing kind of pure compute tasks, the aggregated profit would be higher than a competitor that is doing 100% compute tasks. Just because this 10% where you're doing data reporting, they earn you a higher profit. So this should make the Blocksense protocol kind of highly attractive for anybody that is aiming to generate as much profit from their compute infrastructure as possible. So to make this possible, we have kind of decoupled the staking from the computational capacity. In the Blocksense protocol, if you have a X amount staked, this doesn't limit you how many computers you will bring to the protocol. You can bring more computers, and this would only mean that you will be given more duties in the protocol, more compute tasks, more reporting tasks, and so on and so forth. And this also means that the duties, they really scale with your computing power. Like if you connect a computer that is not very powerful, say a Raspberry Pi, then it would self-regulate itself. It would accept a smaller number of reporting tasks and computational tasks, just so they would fit in the power of a Raspberry Pi. And then if you plug in a Threadripper with 6 GPUs or something like that, again, the protocol will automatically adjust your workloads, your duties, to take full advantage of your hardware.
One thing that I can add to the question about hardware requirements is we're actively researching allowing node operators to specify different capabilities that their node can specifically support, and this will determine the types of compute jobs that the network is going to assign them to. So while there is a strong randomness element because of the need for collision resistance and the secret voting, we understand that there's like inherent trade-off between for each blockchain network between the requirements that the network puts on node operators and also the decentralization. So the more requirements you have, naturally the network can have higher performance. Typically you hear terms like transactions per second. However, the more requirements you have, the less decentralization you have. So there's an inherent trade-off between those two things. And we believe that by allowing node operators to decide for themselves what kind of capabilities they want to expose, we can give greater variety to the number of to the types of node operators that we can that can join the network. So we expect that we'll have anyone from hobby node operators to professional node as a service companies joining, and each of them will have like meaningful contribution to the network capacity.
All right, thank you, Peter, for adding this. What I'm hearing here is that Blocksense is in every element of the system. There's a lot of thought process here and a lot of optimizations that are being prepared, so we can have this very efficient system. Last question that was being brought up by a community member on Twitter, it's goes like this: I don't quite understand the social reputation thing. Does it mean that the operator with a high reputation will always dominate others? What do you guys have to say about this?
Well, I mean, first of all, the social reputation, it's not as fully developed as some of our other ideas. It's again more of a aspirational goal of this thing. But I don't believe this necessarily has to be true. Like, we want the operators who are revealing their identity to be incentivized in some way. And I'll provide a short kind of recap of how the social reputation works in the first place. Basically, the premise here is that we can improve the security of the protocol by leveraging the social reputation on top of the kind of crypto-economic security. Because right now, if you look at the Oracle industry, it's running entirely on social reputation, right? So a bunch of companies are staking their names and basically promising that they wouldn't act maliciously without having any real kind of monetary skin in the game. And to some extent, kind of social reputation has value. Like, we are acknowledging this fact. And by harnessing it, we will kind of raise the bar for the possible crypto-economic attacks against the protocol, because we are the centralized protocol. We are vulnerable to kind of the traditional 51% attack. And we use eigenlayer and native staking to hopefully raise this bar to a very high level by leveraging social reputation. On top of that, the 51% attack will turn into something like maybe 80% or 90% attack. And the way this would work is that few of the kind of big stakeholders in Blocksense, they will be able to reveal their identity. And then the users of the data feeds, the actual DeFi protocols, which are kind of consuming the data produced by the Blocksense network, they will be earning something like that we describe, well, we can call it credits or points, but they can use these credits to kind of delegate their trust in the operators who have revealed their identity. And this increases the influence of these operators in the voting process. So if we have a lot of kind of big reputed operators who have staked their name in the system, and kind of the users of the system have delegated their trust to them, this would make it so that for any malicious attacker, you have to overcome the effect of all this kind of social trust put into the players. Now, we don't believe that the public operators have to be incentivized too strongly with kind of financial incentives. Obviously, there should be some financial incentive to make this, to give them reason to kind of join this vision. But on the other hand, like, they are already stakers in the Blocksense protocol, so they are already very aligned with the success of the protocol. So you can almost expect that they will do this altruistically, and we wouldn't have to raise a lot of the financial incentives for them. So only a very, very small premium would suffice. But most likely, kind of these parameters would be subject to some kind of governance mechanism within the protocol, and we will adjust them over time so the network kind of operates in the most healthy way possible.
All right.
Maybe a qualifying question for Zachary. Would it be correct to summarize this as a delegated proof of stake system? And how would you compare this design with like a delegated proof of stake that other L1 or L2 chains use?
I think it's you could argue that it is similar in the way that there are similar transaction types and so on and so forth. But I think we have this very novel kind of idea that the users of the protocol are awarded these kind of credits out of thin air that they can use in this social reputation layer of the protocol.
Yeah.
Like in the delegated proof of stake, you are still staking funds that you obtained from the market or something like that. While here, you're gaining this kind of social points by being the user of the protocol. So it's slightly different.
Yeah, so in contrast to node operators being able to delegate stake, we have the users which actually have a much higher skin in the game because they trust the data.
Yeah, this is based on the obvious realization that the users, they are the ones who are at risk, right? Like it's most important for them to ensure that the protocol is highly secured. So that it only makes sense to kind of trust them with this curation mechanism where they get to decide, okay, this operator looks fishy or this looks somebody I could trust, and so on and so forth.
So the more data feeds you consume, the more, so to say, risk tokens you're entitled to.
Yes. It would be based on volume of transactions, but in general, yes.
That's very good. I really like how the conversation is turning. The guys are just having fun discussing things maybe they didn't have time to discuss during the day. So, it's great. We have one more question. Time is going like we are over 1 hour now. And we have a question from Dilat from Outsum. He put his question in the chat. If you guys have a question, maybe you can go on and ask another question here. But I, for now, go with this one. What kind of protocols are you majorly aligned towards when it comes to using Blocksense? Gamify, socialify, etc.
Well, I mean, we really see Blocksense as a kind of, as I mentioned earlier, platform for innovation. So my personal dream is that right now here we couldn't even imagine what kind of the killer app is going to be. That somebody will come up with some really good idea how to leverage data from the real world, and it would surprise us. So I wouldn't go and say that there are specific protocols that are most aligned with Blocksense. We consider our platform to be very general purpose, like it can address pretty much every existing Oracle use case. And something that we didn't have a lot of time to talk to, but these Oracle scripts that you create within the Blocksense protocol, they're truly about arbitrary computations. For example, nothing prevents you from kind of writing an Oracle script that will download the weights of the latest AI model, and then you kind of run inference as part of your Oracle script and submit the labels, the classifications on chain. So this is one kind of vertical that we hope to see clever applications of AI in the blockchain space. And we try to be pioneers. We believe that our approach with the rope-based architecture and the kind of collusion and bribery resistance is what really kind of puts us apart from some of the kind of other protocols that are claiming to provide the same capability.
Yeah, I guess we can summarize our positioning by saying that currently there's a very long tail of use cases for off-chain data, which are currently underserved by the traditional Oracle providers. So by allowing our users to take the matters in their own hands, so to say, by writing Oracle scripts, we really we to see like a very flourishing ecosystem of applications that so far haven't been developed. Just like we saw the explosion of new applications that weren't imagined before with Ethereum and the Web3 how to say ecosystem in general. We really hope to see such a level of innovation that Blocksense can bring by achieving a similar effect, bringing programmability to the Oracle world.
All right. Well, thank you, Peter, for this really, I would call them closing remarks, because this is what we are really up to, and I'm so happy to see that we believe so much in decentralization that actually we build something to empower, and this is a great thing to see. What will be the key takeaways from this meeting? You guys get to hear a lot about the things that we've been working on so far, and also what is coming. So you should definitely stay tuned with our social channels, Discord and Twitter, to follow up on new announcements. Also, as I mentioned, on the community side, with the upcoming campaigns, things that you can get involved with. This is the things that I have in mind, that I see that we went through. And actually, so much more has been shared in this discussion that I was expecting. And I'm really happy we had the opportunity. Let's see what we will have to say next time when we get and sit together. And till then, you can also stay in contact with us in social media and ask us any questions. Also, maybe make introductions to protocols that you have connections with, or present the project to developers that will be interested to work on Blocksense. So this is what I have to say, and thank you everyone for tuning today, joining us in this very first community call. I'm very happy. It's a reality now.
How do you say? Shall we make it a regular thing?
Yeah, that's my super plan. This should happen once a month. So we'll sit together and have fun like today. We'll have this setup that we have today. I'm sure in a few calls we'll be much more relaxed. Although I see that even now we are perfect. So maybe we can even get to invite some friends with us and share more of the journey with them.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
yeah. Thank you guys. I also want to thank the team members that are not with us here. Some are far away, so they definitely could not join. But yeah, it's a great adventure to be on the ship called Blocksense, and space belongs to us, I can say. Stay tuned, guys.
Thank you all guys for joining us, and stay tuned for more updates from us.
See you, everyone.